Madam C.J. Walker. I bet some of you are not familiar with the name or the importance of it. Madam C.J. Walker was actually the first self-made millionaire, female, but you know what? She was also African American.
Yes, indeed.
Yes. She created a cosmetics company that focused specifically on beauty and hair care products for Black women.
Right. And at the time of her death, she was considered one of the most successful entrepreneurs of all time.
Octavia Spencer actually portrayed Madam C.J. Walker in the Netflix film Self-Made.
Yep. And her achievements and accomplishments definitely deserve to be remembered.
Absolutely. And you know what? I bet they skipped over that in your history class. But we ain't going to do that today.
Nah. Class is now in session. Today, we're talking about uncommon Black history facts.
Yep, yes we are. And we're actually going to start off by talking about the history of Black History Month.
Okay.
Yeah, so it actually started off as a week, started by Carter G. Woodson, who was a journalist and historian. And then, shout out to the journalist. Yep, and he, it was actually extended to a whole month in 1976 under President Gerald Ford.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and Woodson actually emphasized the importance of having themes for each year for Black History Month, which I didn't really know until recently. But for example, 2022, the theme is Black Health and Wellness.
Really?
Oh, wow.
That's important stuff right there.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, it's cool.
So why do you think it's important to have a Black History Month?
I mean, we need to know our history.
Right.
Because you know what they say, you're bound to repeat it if you don't know it, which I think is a real thing. It maybe not exactly the same way, but versions of it that can maybe even sneak up behind as something that occurred in the past.
Yeah. I think it's also good not only for something like that, but also for, celebrations of the contributions that we've made to America as well. I think we set aside a month to kind of focus on that. It should be all year, and it is all year.
Yeah.
But highlighting it and having people recognize it as such and celebrating the accomplishments, I think is important as well.
Because we've invented a lot of stuff. I mean, they'll go over the
lot of
local
people don't
things in
know.
school or whatever, like, peanut butter, but not like, like the refrigerator or, the internet even, if you want to get more recent.
Home security systems.
Stoplight.
Right. In all honesty, I mean, you touched on it, quickly, but I wish we did not have a Black History Month. I wish Black history was just embedded and taught into the whole,
All year round
into history,
Embedded
because it
into
is
the system of history.
into the system of history being taught.
Exactly.
Where we don't have to break out a specific month, 28 days or whatever for Black history.
Wait. Is that the shortest month?
Yeah,
We go over. Yeah.
but nevertheless, it's not. So we
29 every now and
you need
again.
to have something to emphasize.
every 4 years.
Leap year, right? Exactly. Yeah, I think it is important to, like we said, to be able to celebrate us.
So remember how I was talking about Black History Month and how there's themes with it and how it seemed to be a pretty uncommonly known fact?
I never heard about that.
Yeah, right? So we're actually going to go through a couple of uncommon Black history facts right now.
Okay.
And I'll start. So did you guys know that Phyllis Wheatley was only 12 years old when she became the first female African-American author who was published?
How old was she?
12.
Dang.
I wasn't doing that at 12.
Not at all.
Right?
Okay. Here's one. John Baxter Taylor, right? He was the first African American to win an Olympic gold medal in 1908. That was the Summer Olympics, and he was in the 4x400 relay.
I love the 4x4.
You like the 4x4?
I love
That's
the 4x4.
your race?
It's the race that I like to watch.
Oh, okay. Why? Like, to do? No, to watch.
To watch. I get it. Okay.
What was his name?
His name was John Baxter Taylor.
Nice.
John Baxter Taylor.
Love it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, nice.
All right, did you guys also know Betty Boop, boo-doo, boo-doo, boop, the famous cartoon, the black and white cartoon, right? was actually based off of a black woman,
Right.
Baby Esther.
Right.
She was a performer at the Cotton Club in Harlem.
Ah.
Okay.
That's crazy.
Okay, so you all know Harriet Tubman because Harriet Tubman. They always talk about Harriet Tubman,
Right, right.
especially
Black History Month, they throw
right?
Harriet Tubman
Right.
up in your face.
They-
Yeah.
and she was an amazing woman. I mean, ridiculous.
Her story
right?
is insane.
So, but she was also the first woman to lead a U.S. military operation.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
dang.
Yeah.
She was about her business.
She was about her
Harriet
business.
Tubman was no joke.
Absolutely.
That's some kind of like covert ops type stuff.
Well, think about it.
Yeah,
but literally,
that's the
literally,
type
it
of
is.
work.
That's what she did.
That's what she did.
That's what she did.
That's what she did.
That's
But no,
true.
sort of another cool thing, another fact. 1 in 4 black people, despite the stories, were actually cowboys.
1 in 4, the Cowboys were actually black.
Yeah, so
Right.
it's kind of crazy because you see like the John Waynes, you see how the media
Yeah,
and books and
right.
movies
Well,
are
it
sort of
makes-
saturated
it
with
makes
that
sense.
stuff.
Cowboy. Right.
Exactly,
Right.
but luckily that narrative is sort of being taken down more with movies like The Harder They Fall, showing actual people, actual. I mean, the movie is fictional, but those are actually people, cowboys
Right.
back in those days.
Right,
That's
yeah.
crazy.
And the interesting thing about that, because I was looking that up, because, our granddaddy was a cowboy. And the history of it is really fascinating. So we're giving you guys all these facts, but please
Yes.
go look them up because
Definitely.
it's
Yeah.
interesting, and
Yeah,
that one
it's more
particularly
in-depth
got
than what
me.
we've
Yeah,
been
yeah,
telling
yeah,
you.
absolutely, absolutely.
Right.
So I think Maya, you got the next one.
Yeah, another interesting uncommon Black history fact is that interracial marriage in the U.S. was illegal from 1664 all the way up until 1967, with the case of Loving v. Virginia, which was actually turned into a movie called Loving. So 1967, that was not that long ago, y'all.
Right.
It wasn't that long ago.
It really
Yeah,
wasn't.
really
Was it? That's
That's
right.
when you right. That's
That's
crazy.
right.
So.
So another fact that I found that was very interesting
Yeah.
was Billie Holiday's famous "Strange Fruit."
Oh, that
It-
song is crazy.
It is. Listen, if you have not listened to that song, you gotta listen to
Like
it.
really listen to it, right?
Really, really listen to it. It was originally a poem written by a school teacher. In 1936, Lewis Allen published an anti-lynching poem called "Strange Fruit" in the Teacher Union magazine. Lewis Allen was a pseudonym for Abel Meeropol,
Miracle.
who is actually a Jewish school teacher in the Bronx.
Wow.
That's cool.
Right?
That's
Crazy.
Writing that heavy song.
Right,
Yeah.
She
right.
has a version. Nina Simone has a version, right?
I know you like that one.
I like, yeah, I do. But they're both
They're
powerful.
both powerful and moving in their own right.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And lastly, all right, so black U.S. soldiers, right? The Harlem Hellfighters. They were recognized for their service by the French in World War I 90 years, now dig this, 90 years before the U.S. did the same thing. So they were recognized by the French 90 years before the U.S. did. That's insane.
Daggone near a century later.
Yeah, that's crazy. We've been fighting in every war that this country's ever been in, right?
Since the beginning.
Since the
Chris-
beginning.
since
So,
Adam.
Very start.
yeah. We've been in there giving out, shedding our blood, sweat, and tears. So
Yeah.
Quite literally for this.
Right.
Quite literally.
these are just a
right.
few facts, man. There's thousands,
Yeah.
hundreds of thousands, whatever, but more facts that you can, like Verdel said, you got to look them up and really get into them because you'll be
Right.
surprised about. Well, we're not surprised, but it's interesting to know the you know what I'm saying,
Right.
the actual contributions, just like everybody.
Some of y'all might be
We contribute.
surprised. Some of us.
Some
Some of us
are
may
not.
not.
Some of us are not.
But it's real interesting
Yeah.
and real good to find out the facts
Right.
on American history.
That's
this
right.
is American history is what it is.
So let's
Right.
transition.
Okay.
So, do you think Black history should be taught as a separate class? And let's talk about like in school, right?
Okay.
Elementary, high school, all of that.
Yeah.
Should it be taught as a separate class or should it be embedded in history? In U.S. history, let's say.
Personally, I think it should be embedded into U.S. history. I think
too.
I think it should be all because it is.
Yeah.
It's American
Right.
U.S.
It
history.
shouldn't be
Yeah.
optional.
It shouldn't be optional, right?
Exactly.
It shouldn't be a fringe.
Thank
That's
you.
yeah.
It shouldn't
It
be
should be
optional.
Like
optional. That's
if
a great
other
point.
American aspects aren't optional, why
Right.
should this
Why?
be?
Why is
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Why do we have to be taught about, I don't know,
an elective?
yeah,
that
an
somebody
elec-
picks.
Right. Why do we have to be taught about, certain things? Like, why do we always emphasize, I don't know, like, what's something that's always emphasized in history?
Or maybe
books?
like we go to classes
Louisiana
about Ben
Purchase.
Franklin or something
All
like
of
that.
this stuff.
Like we learn about the whole kite in the
apple tree,
key or
George
whatever.
Washington.
Yeah, like
It's like these narratives that are taught to us, and for years and years and years and forever, and we sometimes get a different and sometimes distorted version of what really happened. I mean, I think that it's important for people to know the history as early as they can.
Without a doubt.
And I'm not saying necessarily go into like graphic detail in like the elementary school. They don't have to read all that.
But the thing is, it's not just only graphic history.
Yeah.
Right. It's about the contributions,
Right.
about what
Exactly.
we accomplished,
Right.
what we did to make America America.
Right.
You think about all the pop culture, or a lot of, not all, a lot of the pop culture that is embedded within the United States that we've created.
straight up.
So that's and we don't necessarily get the recognition for it.
I think that's I mean
Right.
that's a lot of it too. A lot of like history is kind of like rewritten to sort of to sort of like cater to people, and it's and it's like a lot of you hear a lot of black people say music in and of itself. A lot of the music that we listen today, that all started with black folk. Rock started with black folk. Country started with black folk. Blues started with black
bluegrass,
folk.
all that,
all of that.
folk,
And a lot of that history. If we're learning about people like Elvis, we need to learn where Elvis got that.
We need to learn about Big Mom. What's her name? Big
Right.
Mama. And I wish I
Who
knew
Elvis-
her name.
Right,
Who
who
she
Elvis-
got it from.
Right, who he
And
got
going
it
real quick, going back to the whole graphic portion of it. History. So you take American history, how they teach it now.
Yeah.
All history has graphic parts, but they know how to teach it without, you know what I'm saying? So as far as telling our stories without necessarily going graphic, you can do that, because if you think about just, the history that they teach, they can teach that graphic, or they can teach it,
Right.
how to, you know what I mean?
War's
There's a way
graphic.
to-
We teach war. We
Right.
World War II is
Revolutionary
we go
War
over.
and-
There's
Right,
like whole
World War II,
classes.
World War
There's
I.
whole classes
Right.
on World War II.
Right.
Right.
And you
That's
can,
right.
that's just, that was
Exactly.
as graphic, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
The real is extremely graphic.
Yeah.
So what did you learn in your history class?
As far as what?
In American history, what did you learn about Black history in your growing up?
We learned,
In school.
we learned, on stuff like Black History Month, like George Washington Carver, what
The basics.
what Martin Luther King did,
Right.
even though it was a
Right.
sanitized version of it.
Right.
What maybe
Maybe.
what Malcolm X did.
Really?
Maybe.
I know we
Maybe.
didn't.
Maybe,
They
but
didn't.
like touching
A
on it
little
like
bit.
a little bit.
Maybe.
Nothing
Wow.
about like a Fred Hampton. Never. I wouldn't have.
I actually got a little sprinkle of the Black Panther Party in high school.
We didn't get that either.
I ain't get
I
that.
was surprised.
I didn't get that.
Right.
I got a
But
little
I think,
something.
But I think part of that, hopefully, in terms of like learning about more sort of like Black history in that sense, I think happens only when you have like a teacher that knows
more
that
progressive,
a
yeah.
little bit, a little bit progressive, or knows that, or
No,
is hung
just
around
wants
Black
to
people,
teach history.
or wants to,
Well,
that,
no,
or
Right? Just wants
or,
to teach history. They don't have to be progressive.
or
No,
have to
in the
want-
case of now, I think they do, because, I think so.
I don't think so.
I think that, and also, and this is the case, even if they weren't a history teacher, they're just a teacher in general, a Black teacher. If there was a Black teacher in there, I would learn about certain historical things from that teacher, even though she might have been an English teacher or something like that.
Right.
Right, that's true.
So-
I mean, it's just not history, right?
Yeah.
It's just not a history teacher teaching these things. It's
Right.
embedded,
No.
and it could be embedded in everything.
Right.
Like the books.
It could be brought out in all
Right.
kind of subjects.
Exactly.
It could
Right.
be
That's
brought out
exactly
in
what it is.
math. You
It could be
talk
brought
about
out
a-
in
It could be
art.
brought out in science.
Right.
You
Yeah.
talk about a black
Benjamin
mathematician.
Banneker.
Exactly. Science. Yep.
Right,
Art. Whatever.
exactly. That's true. Do you think it's the responsibility of schools to teach this?
Oh,
Yes.
good
Yes.
question.
Or
It
should it be
Yes.
just the parents?
No, because
Oh,
this
no.
is history, just like American history
Just like
is
you
taught.
teach about anything else.
Like the schools need to be responsible for teaching that stuff.
any race or whatever contribution to, whether it's Latin, Latinx, I don't know how you Latinx,
I would say
Asians,
Latin, I guess. Yeah. But yeah,
anybody that contributes to America. If you're teaching American history,
Right.
you got to teach,
Right.
about what they did. I don't care who
Right.
it is.
I don't know if I even learned about like Japanese internment camps until after school.
Right.
Which
Yeah.
is like,
After you
which is
graduate.
like a thing we
Graduate.
did.
Right.
Like,
Wow.
Which is a thing,
Exactly.
which is a
Really?
major
It's
deal.
a major deal.
Yeah, but
Wow.
no, they didn't teach that in school, and it was
Yeah.
a major thing that happened.
You know, we
That's
learned about the
right, yeah.
Holocaust, but I learned a lot about the Holocaust, but I think that's also
We did
because we
too.
live in New
Yeah.
York.
Also, we're
I don't-
surrounded by a big Jewish population.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't think that
I think
wouldn't have.
that-
I don't think
Not
that's
in
really
Florida.
the case. Yeah, not
You know, they
Florida,
probably don't
see
Mississippi.
that.
I mean, maybe you could tell us differently if you live over
If you-
there.
Well,
Right.
let's talk about Florida.
Okay.
So we're talking about history and how it's being taught and not being taught, and how it's whitewashed. We mentioned that
Seems
as
like
well.
they're whitewashing it now more than ever.
Exactly. So now you have a bill that was introduced by the Florida
Governor.
State Senate.
Oh, the Senate brought it in?
And they advanced this bill. It's Bill SB number 148, and basically the bill is saying that you can't harm or
You
Offend.
can't
Offend.
make them
bring
feel badly.
discomfort
Discomfort that's the
towards
word.
a white person for teaching them
Right.
about Black history and discrimination.
Right.
So it's a bill that will prevent against that. How, I don't know.
Which
Yes.
is
But-
but you could be discomforted about anything. Shoot, it's like I could tell you, oh, we had slaves back then. Oh, that makes me uncomfortable. Well, that's what happened. We had slaves
I'm
back then.
stating a fact.
So the common theme that is kind of throughout this is not making people feel badly, right?
Yeah.
But it's the notion that people are saying that they're responsible for it. So I was talking with Miya earlier, and I'm saying you're not responsible for it. We know you're not responsible for the actions of the past,
Yeah.
Right.
but you are responsible for not letting it happen again.
Facts. Big facts.
Bottom line.
And the only
That's
way you're
all it is.
and the only way you're gonna know that is if you
Is
know
if
the
you're
history of
taught
that.
it. Yep.
Right.
That's why history is important. Like it's kind of crazy that I mean, kind of like a lot of things, I guess. Not to whatever, but it's crazy that history, historical facts. But I mean, this happens throughout history. That history gets rewritten to favor certain aspects of it to make people feel good or to
Make them not feel as bad.
yeah, and that's a detriment to the people that lived there back then, or who are still around right now. It's not like all this stuff happened so far in the past.
Right.
I mean, take a look at Ruby Bridges, right? How old is she right now?
She's 67.
67 years old. She was 6 years old, right? And this also leads to the whole offender, because, they don't want to teach, about say slavery or whatever to these young kids or whatever. Ruby Bridges was 6 years old when she was brought into that school. So she was old enough to deal with the situation.
Deal
But
with
these,
people
calling,
throwing stuff
spewing,
at her,
right.
calling her the
But
worst
these young
kind of
kids
names.
aren't old enough to learn about what she went through.
That's right.
That's crazy.
I
It is
saw,
crazy.
And
That's crazy.
I saw a tweet the other day, or it was like a tweet or a meme, and it was like, old white folks are fighting to make sure that their grandparents make sure that their grandkids don't see them in the textbooks throwing rocks at Ruby Bridges.
yeah.
Right.
Or something like
Right.
that. They don't want their grandkids
Yeah.
to see
But
them
you're right.
doing
Or-
that.
Right.
You're
Or
right.
sitting there smiling with their kids at a lynching.
So, Black history is American history, and it's so important that everyone knows about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The celebrations, the sorrows, and what happened to us, and how we were able to get past it. Well, not past it. Or how we were able to accomplish the things that we have been able to
spite of.
accomplish.
In
In
spite
spite
of.
of it.
And the way we move forward is by understanding what happened then and how to improve things now.
We love this country just as much as everybody else, and we just want to be heard.
And I think a part of loving is seeing how things can improve. Loving isn't just loving something unconditionally.
Yes.
Right, blindly.
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 There we
Right.
go. Yeah.
That's the whole definition of a patriot. You know what I'm saying? In terms of calling out, you can love a country or love a certain thing, but you call out when the flaws. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Right.
You make sure when it's doing bad, you got to let them know. When it's doing good, you got to let them
Right,
know.
just
You
like loving a
can't-
person.
Right. You just can't be, led around blindly to think everything is perfect and not show the blemishes.
Yeah.
And that's the only way you improve.
Amen. Amen.
That's the only way you
Word.
improve the country is to talk about its flaws. So like you were saying, that we've all been saying throughout the whole thing, you don't repeat the mistake.
So definitely, let's continue this conversation on social media. We have Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, and we also have a YouTube channel.
And if you're watching this on YouTube, you should probably subscribe to that YouTube channel. Like this video.
Yes.
Hit the notification bell so that you get notified whenever we put out.
New content. Ding, ding.
Ding, ding.
Again, thank you guys for watching. Let's Kick It with the Joneses. We'll see you next time.
Peace.
Hey everyone, it's Black History Month and we are celebrating Black excellence.
If you know anybody that's an educator, a scientist, an activist, anybody that exudes that Black excellence, we want to hear from you.
So why don't you guys send us who you want to nominate, whoever fits that Black excellence bill.
And stay tuned to our upcoming episodes throughout the month of February.